But after 18 movies across 10 years, it might be tricky to remember all the details and events that have led to all these iconic characters joining forces to defend the planet from intergalactic menace Thanos and the power of the Infinity Stones. To assist with the inevitable rewatches and marathon catch-ups that we'll all be doing ahead of Infinity War's release, we've compiled a list of the MCU movies in chronological order, following the timeline of the film universe, including recent release Black Panther. While we're sticking to the main movies and not including the TV shows, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., Agent Carter etc., or one-shot shorts, we'll occasionally highlight the odd point of interest when the big and small screen MCU projects have meaningful crossovers. Also bear in mind that the events of some films occur concurrently with others, while a few include significant time jumps or flashbacks, so take this only as a general guide. For the more recent films, we've kept the refreshers purposely vague to avoid major spoilers for those who haven't gotten round to seeing them yet. Captain America, the first Avenger. Captain America kicks Nazi butt back in World War II. Image, publicity picture. Iron Man set us on the road, but 2011's first Avenger shows us how the team's oldest member came to be. During World War II, courageous weakling Steve Rogers is injected with the super soldier serum, which transforms him into a peak physical specimen. A young Howard Stark, father of Tony Stark, provides Cap with his shield before Rogers heads to the front lines in Europe to battle high-ranking Nazi the Red Skull and his array of highly advanced weapons and vehicles. Infinity Stone alert: the Tesseract, the artifact discovered by the Red Skull and used to power his advanced tech, actually contains the Space Stone. It ends up in the water along with Cap at the end. Post-credits scene: Cap is greeted by Nick Fury in the present day, who has an important mission for him. Stan Lee cameo: the army officer during the press conference, where Cap is supposed to get a medal. Notes: the TV show Agent Carter documents the adventures of Captain America's love interest Peggy after the events of the film. Howard Stark also plays a prominent role. Iron Man started it all back in 2008. Image, Marvel, the one that started it all. Billionaire playboy genius Tony Stark develops a high-tech suit of armor to escape after being maimed and kidnapped by terrorists. After a few upgrades, he becomes the hero Iron Man, and isn't afraid to let the world know it. Post-credits scene: Nick Fury surprises Tony Stark at his house, and asks him about joining the Avengers Initiative. Cue cinema audiences across the world squealing loudly with joy. Stan Lee cameo: the Hugh Hefner-like guest accompanied by two ladies on the way into Tony's party. The Incredible Hulk: Nick Fury's big, weak, big, mean and green after an experiment. Mild-mannered scientist Bruce Banner transforms into raging green behemoth the Hulk when angered. In a bid to become powerful enough to stop him, soldier Emil Blonsky undergoes a similar process using some bootleg super soldier serum, but turns into the monstrous abomination. After some punching and roaring, the Hulk redeems himself, and it's hinted that Banner has learned to control his transformations to a degree. Notably, the movie's events take place over the same 7-day period as Iron Man 2 and Thor, in something officially dubbed by Marvel as Nick Fury's Big Week. As a result, the order of these three films is fairly interchangeable. Post-credits scene: Tony Stark meets General Ross in a bar to talk to him about a team being put together. Stan Lee cameo: the thirsty victim of the soda contaminated with Hulk blood. Iron Man 2, Nick Fury's Big Week. War Machine and Iron Man join forces. Tony Stark is harassed by Ivan Vanko, son of scientist Anton Vanko, who worked with and was screwed over by Tony's father Howard. Ivan builds rival armored suits with the help of Justin Hammer, and an outnumbered Tony is assisted by his buddy James Rhodes sporting the War Machine suit for the first time. Post-credits scene: S.H.I.E.L.D. agent Phil Coulson drives out to the desert to find Thor's hammer Mjolnir. Stan Lee cameo: Larry King, when Happy is leading Tony through the crowd of press. Notes: during Stark and Coulson's conversation in Tony's lab, the agent reveals he's being sent to New Mexico, setting up the post-credits scene with Thor's hammer. When Tony and Nick are in the S.H.I.E.L.D. safe house, one of Fury's monitors is a news report about the Hulk's rampage on the university campus. Avengers Infinity War: where are the Infinity Stones and the Soul Stone? Thor: Nick Fury's Big Week. Asgardian god Thor is banished to Earth. Norse god Thor, in reality part of the extra-dimensional Asgardian race, is banished to Earth by his father Odin, losing his magical hammer in the process. After some personal growth and a budding romance, Thor reclaims the weapon and defeats the giant destroyer armor controlled by his scheming brother Loki. Post-credits scene, Thor's new scientist buddy Eric Selvig is working with Nick Fury on the Tesseract after S.H.I.E.L.D. recovered it from the water after CATFA, but it's revealed that Selvig is under Loki's mind control. Dun dun duuuuun. Stan Lee cameo, the driver of the pickup truck attempting to tow Mjolnir away. It doesn't work out well for the truck. Avengers assemble, our heroes meet, but it's only the beginning. Image, Marvel, Earth's Mightiest Heroes posse up for the first time when Loki attempts to conquer the planet after stealing the Tesseract from S.H.I.E.L.D. Following one or two superpowered misunderstandings, Iron Man, Thor, Hulk, Black Widow and Hawkeye pull it out of the bag to repel the invasion, becoming BFFs in the process. Marks the end of the MCU's Phase 1. Infinity Stone alert, the Tesseract is the cause of this mess. At the end of the movie it is stowed away in Odin's vault on Asgard. Also, there seems to be something peculiar about Loki's scepter. Post-credits scene, our heroes heed Tony's lunch suggestion from earlier in the movie and silently enjoy some hard-earned post-battle shawarma. Somewhere deep in space, a burly purple alien seems to be pulling the strings. Stan Lee cameo, an incredulous chess player in the news report at the end of the movie. Note, TV spin-off Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. reveals that Phil Coulson miraculously survived his face-off with Loki Wink, and has so far embarked on 5 seasons worth of his own adventures. Iron Man 3 Ben Kingsley plays the Mandarin. Image, 2012 MVLFFLLC. Tony Stark is suffering from some PTSD after the events of Avengers Assemble. Rival genius billionaire Eldritch Killian has developed a treatment called Extremis that heals even the most severe injuries, but has the side effect of making people explode. Killian bears a grudge against Stark while a mysterious terrorist called the Mandarin menaces our hero. Human fireworks ensue, as well as the house party to end all house parties. Post-credits scene, Tony has been telling Banner about the events of the movie, only to discover that Bruce nodded off during his story. Stan Lee cameo, one of the judges in the beauty pageant. Iron Man 3 review, action superhero shows his metal Thor. The Dark World. Thor faces an ancient evil that threatens all worlds. Image, Trinity Mirror Southern. Dark elves led by Malekith plot to conquer all the realms using the power of a wispy red and black substance called the Ether. Conveniently, Thor's girlfriend Jane Foster throws a spanner in the works for the villain by accidentally becoming possessed but the downside is that it's also killing her. Thor manages to come out on top during a showdown in Greenwich despite being given woefully inaccurate directions on the tube by a stranger. Infinity Stone alert, the Ether is the Reality Stone, and is in the Collector's possession at the end. Post-credits scene, Thor's buddies Volstagg and Sif visits a trinket-hoarding alien called the Collector to give him the Ether for safekeeping. After they depart, the Collector hints that he has designs on the other Infinity Stones. Back on Earth, Thor returns to snog Jane while the giant beast from earlier in the movie is shown to still be pottering about the disused industrial estate. Stan Lee cameo, a patient in the psychiatric facility when Selvig is delivering his lecture. Captain America, Winter Soldier Bucky Barnes returns from the dead, but is quite the changed man. Image, Marvel, a conspiracy within S.H.I.E.L.D. is exposed, changing the landscape forever. Cap doesn't know who to trust, and by the end has turned his back on his employers. The reappearance of an old friend thought long dead serves only to complicate matters. Post-credits scene, setting up Age of Ultron. Hydra honcho Wolfgang von Strucker has been studying Loki's scepter, with Wanda and Pietro Maximoff aka Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver exhibiting the results of having been experimented on with it. At the Smithsonian Museum, an incognito Winter Soldier examines the memorial display for Bucky Barnes. Stan Lee cameo, the museum guard who fears for his job after Cap's outfit goes missing from a display. Note, the second half of Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D. Season 1 ties directly into the grand reveal of CAWS. In spectacular fashion, Guardians of the Galaxy, an awesome mix indeed. Image, copyright Marvel 2014, Far Away Beyond the Stars. Cheeky Earthborn hustler, thief Peter Quill aka Star-Lord steals an artifact called the Orb, little knowing that others want it for themselves, including despotic extremist Ronan the Accuser in cahoots with Thanos himself. Teaming up with a ragtag bunch, Living Tree Groot, surly anthropomorphic raccoon Rocket, humorless brute Drax and Thanos' adoptive daughter Gamora, Co. overcome squabbles to prevent a genocide, accompanied by a kicking soundtrack. Infinity Stone alert: the orb Quill stole contains the Power Stone, which is left under the watchful guard of the Nova Corps on Xandar at the film's climax. Post-credit scene: Baby Groot in a plant pot is dancing to the Jackson 5's I Want You Back, freezing whenever Drax looks at him. Meanwhile, the Collector surveys his destroyed collection while Space Dog Cosmo offers a conciliatory face. Looking Marvel oddity: Howard the Duck reacts with disgust. Stan Lee cameo: the Lothario chatting up a woman when Rocket is scoping for targets. Avengers: Age of Ultron: the team have to clear up Tony's mess. Image: Rex, Shuttershock: Tony Stark tinkers with the gem found in Loki's scepter to create an AI that will take over the team's heroic duties and help people in need. Needless to say, things go awry, and the resultant baddie, Ultron, decides humanity would be better off extinct. He enlists the aid of the Maximoff siblings Scarlet Witch and Quicksilver. The Skynet wannabe tries to build himself a powerful body, but the ploy instead leads to the creation of benevolent android Vision. Even the Maximoffs turn against Ultron by the end, meaning some new additions to the Avengers roster. Infinity Stone alert: the gem in Loki's scepter is revealed to be the Mind Stone, and ends up in the forehead of Vision. Post-credits scene: Thanos is in a huff following all the setbacks and obstacles stopping him from his goal, and decides to get a bit more hands-on with his quest. Stan Lee cameo: the overconfident WW2 veteran during the Avengers party who decides to try a drop of Thor's Ant-Man. Hank Pym passes the Ant-Man mantle to Scott Lang. Thief: Scott Lang is released from prison and hired by genius billionaire. Seriously, these folks are everywhere. Hank Pym to steal a device from the company he used to own in order to stop it falling into the wrong hands. Hank's tech allows people to shrink to a microscopic scale, and so a pint-sized heist ensues. Along the way, Lang pays a visit to Avengers HQ to pilfer something, only to bump into Falcon and engage in one of the most hilarious bits of rough and tumble in the franchise. Post-credits scene: Hank shows Janet a prototype version of the Wasp suit, like the one worn by her lost mother. It's implied Janet intends to use it to find her. Foreshadowing the next film, Captain America and Falcon are seen with a captive Winter Soldier. Cap ponders their predicament, but Falcon apparently knows a guy who might be able to help. Stan Lee cameo: the bartender during the flashback montage when Luis is telling Scott about Falcon tracking him down. Captain America: Civil War prompted by the destruction of Sokovia in Age of Ultron, and a botched mission in the intro. Politicians demand the Avengers be compelled to work under UN jurisdiction under a contract called the Sokovia Accords. The team divides over the issue, with Tony adamant that they should sign and become accountable for their actions, while Steve believes they would become beholden to the agendas of people in power instead of helping mankind. When the Winter Soldier seemingly resurfaces to attack a political conference, Tony leads the international government manhunt while a dubious Cap goes rogue to find his best friend. Stark and Rogers' clash leads to violent battles between the former friends. The airport battle is one of the standout moments of the entire MCU, and, thanks to some backroom talks between Marvel and Sony, also heralds the addition of Spider-Man to the franchise. We also get the introduction of Black Panther to the big screen. After the King of Wakanda is killed in the bombing, his son and heir T'Challa dons the Black Panther mantle to furiously hunt down Bucky, but plays a pivotal role in uncovering the truth. Post-credits scene: Cap is in Wakanda, standing next to T'Challa as the Winter Soldier is put into stasis. The Wakandan ruler promises to use the country's advanced science to find a cure for Bucky. Back in New York, Peter Parker is fiddling with his web shooters until they suddenly project a Spider-Man-style hologram on the ceiling. Stan Lee cameo: the FedEx employee at the end. Tony Stank indeed. Spider-Man: Homecoming: Spider-Man yearns for action after the events of Civil War, still buzzing from the excitement of his involvement in Civil War's airport battle. Peter Parker is keen to impress his mentor Tony Stark and step up his avenging. But Parker grows despondent after being constantly ignored by Tony, that is, until Spidey uncovers a criminal gang who steal, salvage, and sell weapons crafted from abandoned chituary technology left over from the Battle of New York in Avengers Assemble. The gang's leader, the Vulture Master, fully portrayed by former Batman Michael Keaton, becomes a formidable foe for Peter as he tries to protect the people he loves. Post-credits scene, in prison, Adrian Toomes bumps into the criminal he was attempting to make a deal with on the boat earlier in the movie. The criminal happens to be Mac Gargan, who comic fans will recognize as Spider-Man villain the Scorpion. Gargan claims Toomes knows Spider-Man's real identity and demands he spill the beans so he can murder the web-slinger. Surprisingly, Toomes feigns ignorance. If you stick around even longer, you'll be treated to Captain America delivering a PSA-style bit to camera, similar to the video Peter watches at school in the movie. Stan Lee cameo. The neighbor annoyed by the car alarm Peter sets off when attempting to stop a theft. Black Panther. The noble T'Challa fights to keep the role of King in Black Panther. Image. Marvel. T'Challa is finally crowned King of Wakanda following his father's death in Civil War, fully assuming the role of Black Panther. After a mission to track down arms TSH dealer Ulysses Klaue, who appeared in Age of Ultron, and his stolen shipment of vibranium, a new player named Eric Killmonger appears to threaten T'Challa's rule of the technologically advanced country. Post-credits scene. T'Challa gives a speech in front of the United Nations, detailing how Wakanda will offer resources and open its borders to help others. Back in Wakanda, and harking back to the mid-credits scene from Civil War, T'Challa's sister Shuri meets Bucky Barnes, who has been recuperating. Bucky is missing his metal arm, implying that the Wakandans have managed to remove HYDRA's influence from his mind and body. Stan Lee cameo. In the casino, as the gambler, who helpfully volunteers to look after T'Challa's chips. Doctor Strange introduces magic into the MCU. Image. Publicity pics. Arrogant Surgeon Stephen Strange suffers irreparable damage to his hands in a car crash, ending his career. While attempting to find more unorthodox cures to his condition, he becomes a student of the mystic arts. When a renegade sorcerer called Caecilius threatens to summon an evil extra-dimensional being called Dormammu, Strange uses a dangerous time-bending artifact called the Eye of Agamotto, and the power of negotiation, to best the fiend and save the Earth. Infinity Stone alert. The Eye of Agamotto is the Time Stone. After he uses it to defeat Dormammu, Doctor Strange deposits it back in the vault at Kamar-Taj. Post-credits scene. Thor is questioned by Strange about his reason for bringing his trickster brother Loki to Earth. When Thor reveals the pair are looking for Odin, the sorcerer offers his assistance in order for all three to leave the planet, promptly given Loki's troublesome reputation. In New York, Mordo tracks down Jonathan Pangborn and removes the magic that lets him walk. When Pangborn asks Mordo why Strange's former ally replies that there are too many sorcerers. Stan Lee cameo. A passenger on the bus that Strange and Mordo collide with in New York. Stan is reading a copy of Guardians of the Galaxy 2nd Peter book, quite literally has Big Daddy issues. Rocket steals some Harpulary batteries from a race of decidedly stuck-up aliens called the Sovereign in a chain of events that leads to Peter Quill finding his spacefaring Abenti father. It turns out Daddy is a sentient planet called Ego, part of an ancient race of beings called Celestials. Of course, it wouldn't be a Guardians of the Galaxy movie if there wasn't a threat to guard the galaxy from, and in the course of preventing catastrophe, Quill and his motley crew of misfits discover the real meaning of family and the fact that Mary Poppins is indeed very cool. Post-credits scene. This one packs them in. Kraglin is practicing with Yondu's arrow but ends up stabbing Drax in the shoulder with it by accident. Staccato Gord, Sly Stallone's character, reunites his old team after being inspired by Yondu's selflessness. Aisha, the High Priestess of the Sovereign Golden Lady from the start of the movie, is still furious after being tricked and bested by the Guardians of the Galaxy. She is shown to be making some sort of weapon to defeat them, calling her creation Adam. Presumably this is Adam Warlock, a character from the comics. Keel opens a door to see a teenager like Groot playing a video game, and chastises him for the messy state of his room. Intergalactic observers. The Watchers walk away from a familiar-looking astronaut as he attempts to continue his anecdotes. Stan Lee cameo. The chatty astronaut. Thor, Ragnarok. Thor is imprisoned on a colorful planet called Sakaar. Image. Rex, Shuttershock, evil goddess. Hela attempts to bring about the prophesied destruction of Asgard, known as Ragnarok. Unfortunately for the Asgardians, Thor finds himself stranded on a planet called Sakaar, where a flamboyant ruler called the Grandmaster, a member of the same race as the Collector, oversees gladiatorial tournaments involving less than willing participants. We also find out that the Hulk somehow arrived on the planet 2 years previously, after he fled in a Quinjet. at the end of Age of Ultron, and hasn't transformed back into Banner at any point in the interim. Infinity Stone alert, it's implied that Loki steals the Tesseract from Odin's vault. Post-credits scene, a giant spaceship appears in front of the craft occupied by Thor, Loki, the other Asgardian survivors and, of course, Bruce Banner, Hulk. Back on Sakaar, the Grandmaster emerges from his crashed vehicle and is met by angry citizens. Stan Lee cameo, the enthusiastic cybernetic hairdresser who goes to town on Thor's flowing locks. Phew. And now you're up to date.